This baby must not die. It has a full life ahead. Here is a valve. It must open and close 100,000 times a day for 10 years, 360 million times in bloodstream. India imports 90% of its requirements of medical instruments and devices. How can we accept? In 200 years since Western medicine came to India, no contribution by a native Indian had a global impact. Why?
These were the issues that bothered him and induced him to search for answers. In his career as an eminent cardiac surgeon and researcher in biomedical engineering, he worked out his own way to sort them. Meet Padma Bhushan Dr. M.S. Valiathan, Honorary Advisor, Manipal Academy of Higher Education, Manipal, and President, Indian National Science Academy. With the indigenous development of medical and surgical devices, especially the artificial heart valve, he brought expensive heart surgery within the reach of the common man. Dr. Valiathan was born in May 1934 in Kerala, in a family with a generous sprinkling of doctors.
The choice of medicine came to me fairly naturally because there is a long tradition of doctors in my family. But during my medical school years, I had developed an interest in surgery because I thought surgery was a dramatic and quick way of getting people well. There was a certain glamour attached to it.
In 1957, Dr. Valiathan went to the United Kingdom for postgraduate studies in medicine.
And I also was fortunate during these years in Liverpool to come in contact with a great person, Professor Charles Wells. And it was his inspiration which made me do my master's degree from Liverpool. And he continued to play the role of a guide and philosopher throughout my years of surgical development.
After further research in the United States, Dr. Valiathan returned to India to join the Postgraduate Medical Institute in Chandigarh.
And one of the important outcome of my stay in Chandigarh for 3 years was I met my wife and I got married.
While he worked to save hearts, he also managed to win the heart of Ashima, an orthodontist with a brilliant career at Chandigarh.
There was a patient by the name of Nagarajan, and you brought him to our clinic for a denture after he had maxillectomy for adamantinoma. And you asked me how we make a denture, and I very seriously answered and explained how we make a denture.
See, Nagarajan was a good friend of mine, that's why I came, but you don't think I was making an excuse to come to you?
Well, I wasn't smart enough to realize that at that time. Do you remember that?
Well, I thought I vaguely remember, but I'm not very proud of all these things.
In 1965, the couple went to the United States, where Dr. Valiathan joined the Johns Hopkins University.
That was also the year when Vincent Gott joined there as the head of the Department of Cardiac Surgery. He was not only an outstanding surgeon, but also a highly investigatively minded surgeon. That was a very important introduction for me to cardiac surgery and also research in a totally new field related to cardiac surgery. And when I moved to Georgetown University in Washington, close by, I was again lucky to work with Charles Huffnagel, who shared these interests. In fact, he was the one to do the first heart valve operation in the world way back in 1952. He was still very active. So I could not only get training in cardiac surgery, but also continue my development as a surgical investigator with Charles Huffnagel.
Back in India, after short stints at Safdarjung Hospital, Delhi and IIT Madras, Dr. Valiathan accepted the invitation to head the Chitra Institute of Medical Sciences and Technology, Thiruvananthapuram. The next 20 years witnessed the most stimulating phase of biomedical research in India. In his pioneering efforts, Dr. Valiathan led an interdisciplinary team of scientists and technologists to develop the Chitra heart valve.
So we decided to restrict ourselves in Chitra to developing what are called devices technologies. These are devices which are used as implants, like heart valve or pacemaker or hip prosthesis and so on. And also disposables, which is a very large category, like dialyzers, blood bagged, syringes. The heart valve development, like all sophisticated technology development, is a long and difficult process. Often there are setbacks, you might say agonies and ecstasies. These are all part of complex technology development. We had our own share in the Chitra valve development.
Dr. Valiathan also made original contributions to tropical myocardial heart disease. He studied and paraphrased the world's oldest text on medicine, the Charak Samhita. Dr. Valiathan symbolizes the amalgam of biomedical research and technological application, of modern science and ancient medicine, and in his personal life, that of the North and South.
The main thing was his intellectual ability, and the second thing was his ability to answer my questions on Hinduism, which I was very keen to learn.
The Union also had its share of adjustments to be made.
Well, initially it was like the North Pole meeting the South Pole. I was born in Peshawar and belonged to a typically North Indian culture, and my husband was born in Trivandrum, and he did everything differently from me. I remember in Washington, he would turn the heat on in the apartment and I would turn the heat off because it was too hot.
The illustrious couple have 2 children, Manish, who is Assistant Professor of Orthodontics in Cleveland, Ohio, and Mana, Associate Professor of Pathology at Manipal. What do they have to say about their father?
Actually, we never think of Daddy as a great scientist or a philosopher or writer or cardiac surgeon, which he actually is. We've always thought of him as just our father, and he's always been there for us no matter what the problem, right from the time we were small children.
I remember going to his house with some friends of mine, and he was playing with his little nephew, and that made me think that he will make a very good father, and I was absolutely right.
While a few relaxed moments with family have always been an antidote for a stressful schedule, let's find out those simple things in day-to-day life that make this cardiac surgeon tick.
Do I believe in God? Yes, I do. Not in the sense that God can be seen or can be heard and so on, not in that sense, but I believe God can be experienced. My wildest dream, that is to be a concert musician like Bhimsen Joshi. I like all kinds of music. I like all kinds of drums. I'm very fond of drums. I'm a vegetarian. I like all kinds of vegetarian food.
His habit of constant change, especially when it comes to food, is sometimes difficult to adjust. It's like living with a pregnant woman who is constantly asking for different things.
Vacation. I can't remember having one.
I miss spending time with him. 10 or 15 years of marriage, I followed him around the world. After we came to Trivandrum, we stabilized for about 15 years. And then I moved to Manipal, and he has followed me, and I'm very happy about that. In fact, he's staying in Manipal only because I'm refusing to leave Manipal.
To the younger generation, he says,
please don't confuse happiness with possessions.
Rightly so. His own array of topmost national and international honors are but the elite acknowledgement of his pioneering work. But for the common man in India, it translates into one single word: hope.